サタンしろ
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 219 of the Saturn Studs podcast. I'm Kurt, joined once again this week by my trained in international intrigue co-hosts, Peter and Jake.
That's right, Kurt. And this week we're coming at you with the Walmartians edition. You ever wondered why they were so weird in that store? That's why. They're aliens.
Are they all... Makes sense. It'd be a good cover. Walmart is a big conglomerate. Hide all of our ETs as just Walmart people.
How many Walmart locations are across the U.S.? 51, plus some others. But...
Wait, it's not only 51. How many Walmarts are
Oh,
there?
yeah, plus some others.
Plus some others.
I'm sure about 700,000. 51,000.
US. I'm curious. Because there's got to be a
Area
number for it.
51,000.
Walmart had a total of 4,756 stores throughout the United States as of January 31st, 2020. And then COVID happened, so they didn't build any more. Now, I'm not saying Walmart is probably the reason why COVID spread so fast, but have you ever seen Walmart and COVID in the same room? I haven't.
I mean, I guess no, but probably yes.
We're coming at you live, as always, from a tiny little apartment in Chicago, Illinois, where we're scoping out people's bathrooms with hidden cameras in the corner. That's totally legal.
Yeah.
Where we're shilling for Nabisco.
I mean, they had to pay for this movie somehow.
Yeah.
And we can't all be Sonic the Hedgehog with his fucking Olive Garden product placement.
Oh my god, that was so gratuitous. But like they leaned into it and it was endearing. So we watched My Spy as we have endeavored to chart the progress of the Dave Bautista cinematic universe. This is the indirect sequel to Stuber.
That makes sense.
Or maybe a prequel. I'm not sure how we decided that it goes. But this is an entry in the Dave Bautista cinematic universe.
Once they actually look into all of JJ's wrongdoings in My Spy, they will actually fire him, and then he'll have to become an Uber driver. So I could see this as a legitimate prequel to the Stuber.
Well, there's one where he's a contract killer, and we said that was the sequel to this. I don't remember. I think Stuber was the first one. I think he was a cop, and then he did a good job as a cop. So never mind the fact that he's supposed to be a lot older in Stuber than he is in this one. That's not important.
Now, how is this all going to fit into the new movie that's coming up in 2024, Hotel Artemis, with the critically acclaimed cast? None other than Jodie Foster.
I think that's a non-canon spin-off.
So, wait, hold up.
It's like an Earth 2 version of Dave Bautista.
Gotcha.
I think I see a theme here, guys. These movies are all connected by a thread. And my tinfoil 100% cotton hat has picked up on that thread. And that is Dave Bautista works service jobs. He's a Uber driver, he worked at a hotel, and he was a babysitter.
Oh.
So what service job will Dave Bautista work next?
What's the one where
Retail
he's at the
burger
soccer
maker?
stadium?
Huh?
Like, is that like what is he like a concession guy at the one where he's like thwarting a terrorist plot at the soccer stadium?
I can see that.
That could be.
I can see him doing like a Paul Blart kind of thing, where he's just like,
could he be
he's like
the antagonist of Paul Blart 3?
No, he's got. I would love to see that, but I would also like to see him in like a menial job as like a security guard at a bank or something like that. Just like, you wake up, do it in the morning, maybe run a second job at night. But then he has to take down the terrorists.
I mean, it's gonna be a while before we get Paul Blart 3 because they have to make the War for Brooklyn movie where Kevin James as the King of Queens wages war against Pete Davidson as the King of Staten Island for the rights to the Brooklyn territory.
Dave Bautista stuck down in Florida. No, once they get around to making Paul Blart Three's Company, he's gonna find out he has two triplet brothers. One's Dave Bautista and one's Ryan Reynolds.
Yo, what is Dave Bautista's net worth? He's in a lot of stuff.
Can't we get Danny DeVito in there?
We'll just get everyone there, and as more star power comes in,
I got it.
He goes back to the back of the box, and he just okay.
You know how they were going to do triplets, where they were going to add Eddie Murphy to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
What if we do quintuplets, and then we add to that triumvirate Dave Bautista and Kevin James?
That would be. We're dangerously close to the ridiculous 6 here. You can't go that far. Then you hit Adam Sandler.
Don't go full Sandler. Never go full Sandler.
Adam Sandler's made better movies than this, even in his off times.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted something worse. I just got like fairly ho-hum and boring out of My Spy. Although until the climax was just ridiculously awful, and I loved every second of it.
Yeah, this movie I extended by an hour because I just made a Philo Doe experience because every 2 minutes I paused for 2 minutes to yell about the movie, and then I played it again, and I just couldn't stop myself. And it was 11 o'clock by the time I was done, and I was like, what happened to my evening? Oh, I watched My Spy. It's almost as long as Lethal Weapon 3 on fucking TV.
Yeah. Nothing could be quite as long as that. I swear we were watching that movie for 36 hours. I'm going to increase the length of time every time we mention it, and then the story is just going to eventually turn into the plot of 127 hours.
The time will exponentially increase, much like the exponential decay of several atomic elements.
Nice. Which brings us into
Radioactive.
Trey Watch,
the series where we talk about trailers in this fucking wasteland.
Yeah, there's typically slim pickings, but we are starting to see more things. Although I'm fairly certain that at least 2 of these movies have already come out. Radioactive being one of the movies I'm fairly certain has been out for like 3 months. But we've got trailer 1 for it allegedly, and
I thought we saw the trailer for it already by now.
We did.
It's like, why trailer 1? No movie clips trailers. I've definitely seen this before.
That was the teaser trailer stinger MacGuffin 1.
Nobody needs a teaser trailer for something that's already happened in history. Marie Curie invents a green glowing rock and is like,
she
boom.
invents the gamma rays and the Hulk comes out.
So
then she dies.
There's a number of problems with this movie in terms of its historical accuracy. Number one, like the dig about these science people believing the Earth was flat. No, that's not true of that time. Yeah. And honestly, even the Greeks knew the Earth was round, because if you look at any statue of Atlas, he's holding a round Earth.
Yeah. Even the I think it was ancient Egyptians were able to figure out not only that the Earth was round, but also that they were able to figure out the circumference or the diameter of the Earth.
Been making a fucking taking pot shots at him. Not
but there's also stuff like Pierre's name on the Nobel Prize was mentioned as a co-discoverer, and actually it was not an impassioned speech by Marie that got her name onto the experiment. It was Pierre who protested to do that. But we have to make this a suffragette movie.
Yeah.
So we need to bend history to our narrative demands.
Now, I watched this, and I also watched another biopic trailer. And my main complaint with this is that it's just very by the numbers.
Yeah, it's
Um,
so much like everything else you've ever seen.
yeah, which was kind of a letdown when I compared it to Tesla, which is the IFC Films biopic of Tesla. Um, and what they did for this one is they I wouldn't call it experimental. I'd call it they're just trying a couple different things out. Um, so you know how in like Drunk History, they'll just sort of break. They'll
Yeah.
break all the time. So this movie specifically lists Drunk History as one of its like influences.
Wait, which
Okay.
one? Tesla or
Tesla.
Tesla.
I'll share the trailer with you, but
That's really fun.
it's like it's a lot of the same beats as a biopic, but it's not trying to like immerse you in the world. It's very clear about casting this as this is a biopic, guys. We're trying to dig through the history and figure out what this guy was like. So you'll have like the wife character is basically the framing device for the story. She's on like a fucking Apple laptop. Like if you Google Tesla, you get like 32,000 hits, but it's all like 4 pictures. You have like Edison just like taking a break from debating with him, and he just whips out his phone and he's just like texting on it. Tesla's like making impassioned speeches over like a obviously painted matte background. Like they're trying to like, we're not gonna, like, they're putting you in the life, but they're not trying to like dip you in up to your head.
I see.
I don't know.
I kind of like that.
They're trying to reframe it.
The most noteworthy part of this radioactive trailer is at 1 minute and 43 seconds in, Maria Carey says, "My work can cure cancer." About that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta gave her cancer.
Pete, that glass is just so large.
What is in the glass, Peter?
It's Omegon Vita, light. It's the white beer. It's the fucking light beer for lunches.
It's 11 a.m.
It's 11 a.m.
That's when I have lunch.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, though. Probably in India.
In a war-torn hellscape.
Ohio.
Why am I saying what way?
Yeah,
That's a
so
tongue
Maria
twister.
Carey trying to cure cancer. Big oofties, she gets cancer from it, unfortunately. So,
And she dies tomorrow.
and she dies tomorrow.
She does die tomorrow.
That's a pretty good segue into the next movie.
What is this movie even?
I don't know.
Who's the main character? I'm uncertain of what's
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they switch. Like, they keep on switching perspectives between the people who think they're going to die the next day. And nobody's going to
Yeah.
die the next day except for one person who, like, went too crazy and they've, like, caused their own death, I bet.
Yeah, I'm sure this is like going to be a movie about self-fulfilling prophecies
Yeah.
or some bullshit like that. Try to be philosophical.
Like, oh my God, if you think about your existence ending possibly the next day, what would you do and what would you feel like, man?
Well, apparently some girl managed to get a doctor's appointment, which I call bullshit on.
Yeah, no way. Maybe it was just
Yeah,
coincidence that they had the doctor's appointment the next day, but I don't think so.
I don't think the directors have any grand ambitions with this movie. It just looks like they want to make something weird.
But look
And
at
like,
the pull
oh, yeah,
quotes they put in the
is-
trailer, Peter. It's described as a hold on, let me
It's an absurdist comedy.
a gripping apocalyptic thriller ready-made for this moment by IndieWire.
Really? Because it also says, let me see if I can't find it. The other pull quote. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-bow.
It flirts with psychological horror and absurdist comedy from Screen
Yeah.
Gateway.
Because, like, the fucking scene right before that is all the lights go out, and then they're like, and then a guy walks, happy birthday. Just one of the dudes is
thought
like,
I
I
was
just
gonna
turned out the lights.
It's
I'm
like,
gonna die, God.
I thought that was it. I thought I was going to die when the lights went off because I couldn't see anymore. I got so scared.
Well, It might be
And then
some.
the
It
AV
might be a
Club
movie
calls
that,
it totally terrifying. So
Well,
these
I don't know.
3 poll quotes paint a picture of different movies each time.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe kids will relate to this. Maybe I'll relate to this because we all live in a nightmare world that's on the brink of it just feels like it's on the brink of collapse. May not be that way, but that's the brainscape I think of a lot of people right now. So they're like, here, have this movie where everyone feels like they're gonna die at any moment. It's for all ages, much like My Spy.
Also for all ages, Tijuana Jackson, Purpose Over Prison. It's about a convict. It's a mockumentary
yeah.
following a convict who wants to build an emotional speaking empire.
I feel like this could be like a low key, really, really funny movie, or shit garbage. And I think I'm leaning
I got
towards shit.
major like Spinal Tap vibes from this. Just how much they refer to the camera crew and that sort of thing. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I think it has all the ingredients to be a What We Do in the Shadows style cult hit.
Yeah.
But it could also very easily fall apart.
Yeah, those are so fragile. There's like you either nail it on the head or you hit your thumb. It's like really the really fine line, and I hope they can. I think I've seen him in other comedies, the main guy who plays Jackson, and he's been
in
pretty
some
good.
world, in some alternate universe.
He's
I
also
think
the
this-
director.
Oh, he is
Oh, I see.
good. Then that might be good. It might be good comedic timing, and it might not be too
Oh yeah,
ham-fisted in a lot of the ways.
he's been in things like Weeds and the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Oh God, he was in Night School.
Yeah, yeah, in alternate universe, I feel like this would be the lead actor would be Sacha Baron Cohen, and you just let him loose in a prison,
Yeah, I could see that.
and just do his Sacha Baron Cohen thing.
I'm pretty sure Sacha Baron Cohen is in fact still rotting inside a Kazakhstanian prison because of Borat.
No, because he came out and did that whole
That's an imposter.
that's
it's
an
a
imposter.
body double.
All
It's a
right.
body double.
It's one of his Horcruxes.
How
How do you think he stays alive after he does all this shit?
It's his familiar.
stunt actor?
It's
He
his
made
stunt
his
double.
stunt double his Horcrux, and it's imbued with the persona of Sacha Baron Cohen.
Either way,
So-
Sacha Baron Cohen is endless.
Bent on
It's either that
Stop
or they arrested his body double.
yeah.
And he's roaming
You
free.
idiots! You captured their stunt doubles.
Classic.
Endless, yes. Much like Trey Watch typically feels to the new listener, just endless.
Endless. I'm watching this.
got
I'm
this
watching this
baby
trailer
from Miles.
with Kristen, and
So-
she's like, this is a
Ghost.
Kristen movie.
This is Ghost.
Yeah.
This is literally Ghost. It is the same sort of plot. They've just got younger characters. I've seen this movie before. It starred Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. I would not be shocked if they did like a millennial version of the pottery scene.
She's texting her friends on her phone, and then he goes over her arm and types in "I love you" or some kissy face emoji. She's like, oh, "I didn't type that. It must be my boyfriend who died in a car wreck."
I want the reverse of this kind of movie.
Or the
Except,
girl dies. Me too.
yeah, except she comes back like the grunge, and they have like a punk alternative like kind of relationship, and they're all like, it's him and like the girl with the black hair, and they're just sitting outside like the club where the fucking rock band is playing, and they're like, he hands her the jewel, and she like makes a giant cloud of smoke, and then she's gone.
Whoa.
Whoa, dude.
You have some strange wants for cinema, Peter.
Look, there's got to be like, how do you turn The Grudge into a romantic comedy? How do you turn fear, fucking FEAR, into a dating sim?
I, I mean, it basically is when you really
just gotta dress up the
think
ghost
about
and be
it from
Oh,
a
sexy.
yeah.
from a certain perspective. All those like psychological flashes are just you and Alma going on little speed dates.
Oh my god, that's it. Fucking you have to do it like speed dating, where you can you have to keep her from killing you. She has to get close enough where you have to talk to her and you go through the dialogue options like we should go on a date. Here's this fucking strawberry or whatever. But if she gets too close, then she rips your head off.
Here's this fucking strawberry.
I'm honestly surprised there isn't already a game out there like that. I'm sure if we dug deep enough, there's probably a ghost dating simulator out there.
Well, they did something kind of similar, like in terms of like the taking the horror concept and changing it around, where like the dude was the stepdad to the Omen child.
Mm-hmm.
You know that movie?
Okay. No, I
Raising
know
Evil or
Supernatural, where they did a parody of the fucking The Exorcist. It was the mom. She's like, "Dinner's ready," and then she just pukes all over the entire family.
Oh, well, the stepdad was like they were raising like the
Yeah, like
Lucifer
raising
kid.
Eve.
Yes, yeah.
Oh
Yeah, I remember that trailer. Now I remember that. Yeah, it's coming back to me. Yeah, they took a spin on like The Exorcist, and he's like, "How do I be a stepdad to the devil?" Kid's a fucking demon, literally. It was climbing on the walls. Yeah, I would like to see that. Try to romance the ghost instead of sending it back to the underworld.
Yeah, I know.
Their
A scary
wedding tape
movie
is
is
the ring.
probably done. Yeah, scary movie is probably done
Yeah.
a bit like that before. Where
But
someone
do we
like,
want to
just
let
sets
scary movie be the pinnacle of this genre?
No, I mean,
Romance horror.
Scary Movie 1 and 2 maybe.
Is that a new category?
no.
Romance horror?
Horror comedy, horcom,
Horror rom-com?
horrom,
Horrambe?
horomedy.
Dicks out for Harambe?
Just out for Harambe.
Who's writing him
Harambe,
on their
yeah.
2020
When a
ballot?
gorilla and a ghost find that they have more in common than you thought.
Who's writing Harambe in on their 2020 ballot? No, it's Kanye, obviously.
Kayambe.
Kayambe.
It's the dual ticket. They've made the full ticket at this point.
It's like when Kayambe is what you get when Kanye West builds like a Jeff Goldblum in the Fly teleporter, and the ghost of Harambe gets in the other one, and their DNA gets crossed. It's Kayambe coming
powers
soon to
do-
theaters.
Wait, what powers does like a ghost gorilla give you?
Well, obviously you have the gorilla strength and an insatiable lust for bananas. But you also have the ability to communicate with the spirit world, but only to dead animals.
And only in
So
sign
you must
language.
try to
There you
figure
go.
out.
And in sign language.
Yes.
I think it's a fountainhead of ideas here, kids.
Just like
Some fucking Hollywood producer is going to stumble upon our show and like with a notebook, and it's going to be like the playbook in The Waterboy, where he just like holds on to that and he rises to the top of the studio.
Look, it's only a matter of
Yeah.
time until Blumhouse gets a hold of this podcast and is like, "Oh my God, we're set up through 2030." Or they could just keep on milking Halloween
budget
movies.
$10,000 to make all these movies.
Yeah, honestly. Or they could just keep on milking the big old teats of Halloween and Halloween Kills again.
Yeah, again.
Oh God, when are we gonna end this? It honestly, it was what's her name, the yogurt commercial lady,
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's right. That's what I know her from. Activia.
Activia. It regulates my butthole while I'm running away from Michael Myers.
Well, that's an important time to have your
Yeah,
regularity.
yeah, because he will track you if you got the Hershey squirts.
You don't want to be. You don't want to
I
be.
want her to do the activity
squirting.
commercial.
Activity
the Activia commercials. but it's just like Too Many Cooks, where he just comes into the commercial and she has to run away at the end.
That would be honestly good, but
It's like she's jogging and he's jogging behind her.
I'm glad I had my Activia this morning.
Let's call our friends over at Adult Swim. See if we can get this happening.
And Michael Myers is chasing her just with a comically large spoon.
Yes.
Give me your
Yes.
Activia. No,
But he's holding
Michael,
it like a
it's
knife.
mine.
He's not like holding it like he's gonna bash her. He's holding it like he's gonna stab her with the spoon.
I want your Activia. It gives me energy in the morning. For killing.
It keeps me regular.
Guys, Halloween comedy? I think it's time.
I mean, every horror franchise has to go through a comedy phase. Like, think of things like Leprechaun 5, Back in the Hood.
Or Jason X.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm sure there was a comedy Nightmare on Elm Street.
Honestly, a lot of them are. The Nightmare on Elm Street had a lot of good comedy in them because Freddy was just that funny. Bitch.
Yeah, that's a
Man.
bitch.
Nobody knew how to say bitch like Freddy Krueger. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say about Halloween Kills because there's not a lot. It's like a teaser that they gave us. And it seems like it leaves off where the rebooted Halloween left off with, I guess, them defeating Michael Myers in like a house fire.
Well, I'd hope they'd follow up on
And,
it. Like, it seems like they're trying to build the franchise again.
Yeah.
I can't believe Danny McBride directed that movie.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Good for him. Honestly. I mean,
Oh, man.
Rob Zombie was the last one to direct a Halloween movie, right? He did the origin movie.
He did 2 reboots of them, and they weren't well received.
Wait, he did 2 of them?
Yeah, there was Halloween, the Rob Zombie version, and then there was H2.
Oh, he did H2O.
No,
Oh,
H2O was Halloween like 2000. That was, I think, the 4th one in the franchise.
Okay.
And that is Busta Rhymes. I guess they did comedy because Busta Rhymes karate kicks Michael Myers out of a second-story window in that movie.
I watched a lot of the Halloween movies. They're the same thing every time. They just find different ways to use the knife to kill people. Let me see. Halloween Rob Zombie movies. I don't know if I've seen the second one. Or I guess maybe his first one. I don't know which one came first.
Chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
Or a Busta Rhymes karate kick.
Yeah, so that's Halloween Kills. There's not a whole lot about that. And I guess to finish it off, something interesting happened in Hollywood during this whole COVID experience. A movie was made in secret starring, now let's try not to invoke her name too loud, Zendaya. Oh, I just heard my window
My lights
shudder.
flickered. My lights flickered. I'm going to die tomorrow.
She's staring into my soul through this picture. Go back to Spider-Man. So they filmed a movie in quarantine, which was a pretty big kind of thing to do because nobody's been doing any movies right now, which kind of leaves Hollywood up for like losing a lot of money post quarantine and COVID stuff. Because there's no production obviously going on, there's nothing to be released, there's no money to be made in like the next few quarters. But Zendaya and somebody else, was this? What's his name? John David Washington, made a
guy
movie
in
with
Tenet, I
Sam
think.
Levinson. Started and finished a secret movie during the pandemic. So I don't know if there's even a name for it out yet. They haven't.
Yeah.
They haven't released a trailer.
Malcolm and Marie
Malcolm
is
and
the name.
Okay. So
Filming took place between June 17th and July 2nd at the Caterpillar House. And this article that we have here, like give some of the rules. Like during quarantine, no more than one person in a room at any given time unless the additional person has previously been quarantined with the cast or crew member. There will be food prepared in quarantine housing. Food will be delivered to your rooms. During the shoot, do not touch your mask. Eliminate the use of paper document distribution. No scripts. Avoid handshakes and other greetings that involve touching. Keep your nails short.
Oh, wow.
If at all possible.
So keep an eye on those nails during the movie. I want to see if they stay true to that.
There, like, holy shit, there's a lot of stuff.
There was a lot of
like,
stuff.
I was just like perusing through, but there's probably like 70 or more bullet points here.
Yeah. Wow. Oh shit. Yeah. I know the video that I heard about this. They only touched upon like the big things, social distancing, how food was getting to you, who was involved. They tested everybody like before and after the shoot, just to make sure nobody caught it during. And there must have been, I guess, relatively a smaller group that was involved, but you know, you always gotta be careful because during a contained experience like this, it could really run rampant and you can have like a small outbreak and it could be really bad. But I think they obviously did it fine. So it's possible to do a quarantine
until
movie.
we get the documentary 6 years later. What really happened on the set of Malcolm and Marie?
It was vast rapes of COVID. We didn't have any food.
They raped the COVID.
COVID raped me.
There's just crazy shit that went down. Zendaya's eating people because they ran out of food in the third day.
Zendaya is Michi.
Yeah. So there's a lot of rules. That's crazy. Yeah, because I was scrolling.
It turns into fucking the Lord of the Flies.
Honestly, like
Yeah.
these contracts must have been like really long to just make sure that they followed everything.
Oh, it's just surprising in Hollywood. I mean, they're known for their small and really concise contracts.
Yeah. But
I've actually never seen a Hollywood contract before, so I can't comment either way on that.
Yeah, it's fair.
they
Can't say
use
I have either.
DocuSign. Like these notes are so descriptive. Utilize DocuSign when possible for necessary signatures. Oh my god. Well, yeah, that's awesome. That's just kind of cool that they were able to do this. But what's interesting is that this might be coming out when not a whole lot of other new movies are coming out. So it
Number
might
one by
do-
default, baby.
I guess so. Number one by default. Number one by just everybody's bored. You can only watch Hamilton so many times on Disney Plus.
Yeah. But you can then watch Artemis Fowl.
Oh, good.
A movie that I think Disney, my new conspiracy theory is Disney started COVID so they would have an excuse not to release Artemis Fowl into theaters. They spent $125 million on that movie. That would have made that would have lost so much money. That would have made Mortal Engines and Alita Battle Angel look like The Matrix and Titanic by comparison.
Yeah.
Judi Dench. She's not cheap. Not a cheap
She don't
date.
come
Top of the
cheap.
morning to you.
She's half the budget. What did you do for like
Irish.
5 minutes of runtime? Okay, that'll be $50 million.
And the CG on that movie was awful. Like
Yeah.
the set design
yeah.
was cool, but the CG was terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like they like filmed it in like 70 different locations. It was just a house.
Mostly,
A couple
yeah.
of locations, but you know, the majority of it took place in the house and destroying the house. It's crazy.
All right. Well, let's follow up on some of the films we touch on and Trey watch sometimes.
Yeah.
Here with our box off and review roundup segment, the follow up. We lead off this week with a new number one movie. The Wretched has been supplanted. Actually, I think Becky was number one last week, but Becky has been supplanted by Relic. I bet you'll never guess what genre of movie this is.
Archaeological documentary.
Oh, close. It is a horror mystery. Because even the pandemic, horror movies can be profitable.
I think we talked about this. I remember something about a daughter, mother, grandma dementia movie.
There's a few of them.
We've talked about a lot of movies, and few of them good. Relic stars Emily Mortimer of Newsroom fame, and some other people that I've never heard of. Currently has a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, and we're going to take a closer look at this rating by reading you some IMDb user reviews, as Relic is the spotlight film for this week. I will begin with a 10 out of 10 review from Smith with a extra H in there, SMITHT dash 84088. His review of Relic is a 10 out of 10, submitted January 26, 2020, before the Fire Nation attacked. Sundance 2020 world premiere is the subject line. I just saw this at Sundance 2020 world premiere. I didn't realize I was sitting behind the filmmaker! It was truly great! Very great, deep, scary, compassionate, true blue, hashtag true blue eep, hashtag humming bull rising.
What?
36 out of 78 found this helpful. Humming bull rising. True blue eep.
True blue eep. Ah, yes. True blue eep. The cornerstone of any good movie.
I don't know what true blue means. Although I will note that I'm pretty sure a lot of these positive reviews are astroturfing because they all mention the filmmaker in some capacity. So I'm pretty sure it's like her friends.
People who worked on it. Yeah. Not surprised.
All right.
Well, these are more recent reviews, so not the Sundance ones. And some of them are short but sweet. 1 out of 10 by Bandbuster. What a bore fest, comma. That's the,
Comma
that's the
chameleon.
title. Just a whole film of nothingness. Ellipses with a period. The annoyance of every shot in the complete darkness makes it unwatchable. Ellipses. That's it. That's the end. 10 out of 25. Found that helpful. Let me read you one more quick one. 1 out of 10. Horrible. And what was that thing in the bed at the end and no explanation or closure? Really? Okay. Thanks, Miles. 2 out of 5 found that helpful.
I can't believe 36 people found my review helpful. That's just astonishing to me.
That's awful.
Ironically, that's how many people worked on the movie.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. If Jay can do a quick blurb, I'll do a quick blurb one too. Papadopoulos Panos, 4 out of 10 review. 0 people found this helpful, by the way. Boronic. It means boring plus moronic. I'm being generous. This is so tedious, so uninspired, and so subcultural. It has pride of place in a Roman vomitorium. 0 people found that helpful.
Okay.
I think
They're
vomitoriums
not
are
that.
a myth.
It's the.
correct?
It's the. No, vomitoriums are the thing in in the stadiums, the big ass arches that everyone walks out of when they're done with the event. Like it's everyone's show's over, guys. Time to go through the giant fucking arch in the bleachers. That's a vomitorium because people spill out of it.
I see.
Because I remember
this is pretty interesting. During our show here, someone has submitted a new review.
Fresh off
review.
the fucking press.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, it's not too entertaining. I'll do a quick blurb as well. Any contact with female is the dystopian road to babies, guys. Be careful of the subliminal man-woman MSG, and thank goodness for Animal Kingdom to annihilate the latter.
Cha-ching. Cha-ching. Cha-ching.
Our boy is back.
Jackpot.
Back. C-Sun BA Piano MST3K Snail Ant Wear Pink returning once again with his wonderful screed about Andrew Jackson. But my actual review is 10 out of 10. A must from Binge O'Healer. A must-see film in parentheses, from the comfort of your home in 2020. Submitted July 3rd, 2020. Strong performances by 3 brilliant actors, amazing screenplay, cinematography, and directing. Hard to believe and exciting that this is Natalie Erica James's debut feature. I was on the edge of my seat the whole way through, and I literally bit off my nails because I was so nervous. No exclamation point. That wasn't deemed worthy of one. I haven't seen a movie like this that kept me thinking about it for days afterwards in a long time. An important story about aging and dementia. I hope all Australians will get behind it to support homegrown local talent. I can't wait to watch it again and excited to see how it's received by audiences as it's released around the world. 14 out of 38 found that helpful. I guess those 14 are the immediate family of Natalie Erica James.
Australia, come together. We must watch this movie about dementia. Get your ruse and hop to the local theater. All right, so I have a little bit more of a one with some meat on its bones. 1 out of 10. This film is so deep, ellipses, and yet so boring and totally pointless! Exclamation. Classified as a horror, but there is nothing horrific.
Not gonna lie, they had me in the first half there.
Yeah, I know. Then they get you real quick on the actual meat and potatoes. Classed as a horror, you dumb shit. Classed as a horror, but there is nothing horrific apart from the woman suffering from Alzheimer's, and yet gives absolutely no insight into that condition. Last 10 minutes excluded when the film decides, oh, let's try to be a horror, and yet still fails miserably. I get this is supposed to be an analogy of the former person, but it doesn't work. Oh, that last 2 sentences was all in parentheses. I don't know why.
Oh, good.
Badly lit throughout. Terrible dialogue. Some of the cuff examples of losing your memory. Obscure, weird scenes that never connect up or seem to even have any relevance and never touched on again. The list goes on. If you want to see a film about Alzheimer's, then watch Still Alice, a real horror film without all the pretentiousness of this one. 1 out of 5 found that helpful. I feel like more people should find this helpful.
Yeah. All right. Now I have a choice here. I 2 roads diverge into yellow wood. Now we can continue and fucking send this to its grave, or I can give it a moderate, even-handed review, as is the neutral slot for me.
Which one's more entertaining?
Which one will make us go haha?
It depends on if we actually want them to care about this movie, which, considering this is for comedy's sake, all right, you've made my choice for me.
Send it to the Shadow Realm.
It's going down, kids. For anyone who wants to see the other one, it's actually by an actual reviewer. Horror Blades Reviews of Relic. He gives it a 6 out of 10. Disturbing, unsettling, but also a little dull. And then he has an actual ass review. But no, all right, we're going to Jillian Ronnie's review of Relic. Now here's the title. Another smug and pretentious slow burn horror drama that claims the metaphor is the monster. Surprised this isn't an A24 film because it's that dull and dry.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Let me put on my fucking, my AVGN voice, my shitty AVGN knockoff voice. Why do these awful artsy-fartsy contrived dramas keep being passed as horror when they're absolutely not? Are critics just that clueless and deluded? This plays by the numbers like so many other critically hailed horror films of the last decade. Apparently, to get great reviews, you can just follow the same dry, uninspired formula of symmetrical camera work and supposed dread-inducing overacting. Then add a deep metaphorical message that just is just as effective as an actual visual monster, because what you can't see is scarier. No, that isn't true horror. It's drama. It's just such a miserably lazy film, although Mortimer salvages it from being blah, 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 truly terrible. 31 out of 62 found that helpful. Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, that's Relic, your #1 movie in America. The Wretched. in its 10th week. It's hanging on at number 2, up from last week. In standings, down in money, 37% to be factual. Just a hair under 25K for that. Followed yet another horror movie. Apparently the only thing deemed fit to launch the box office.
Mm-hmm.
Down 69.5%, but in 49 more theaters. 23.6K. Becky, 19.7K, down 76.2%. Miss Juneteenth, down 32.7%. Out of 5 theaters, only 6 left. Infamous. How far would go to be famous? Apparently not to your local movie theater, as it was down 93.3% from last week, bringing in a paltry sum of $2.4 thousand out of 5 theaters. The Truth opening in 7th in 10 theaters to the tune of $2,200. And Sex in the Future up a staggering 542.6% to $604 in one theater.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Only one theater. 540.
That rounds out our top 8, as there are
That's
only
only
8 movies
Oh my gosh.
listed
Man.
on Box Office Mojo.
Another depressing box office mojo.
It's been, the pandemic follow-ups have been sad.
They've been rough. They've been rough. Yeah. I wonder if this factors in like drive-in movie theaters at all.
I mean, I gotta imagine that
they
they're
have to,
the
right?
majority of the theaters that are being
Yeah.
counted here. I think as long as they report the results, the Box Office Mojo, then they're counted.
Maybe they don't.
I assume that's how that
sense.
works.
Or actually, you know what? I did pass a drive-in movie theater, and they were like showing old movies. Like I think they were showing, I think Infinity War and The Force Awakens or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. Like, I don't know what the criteria for Box Office Mojo is. Maybe it filters out movies that weren't released that year. But like, apparently, the true #1 movie in America a couple weeks ago wasn't Wretched or whatever or Fallout. It was Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Bring them
interesting.
out of the archives, kids.
Honestly, it's a great idea, and I think I'm hoping that's what maybe gets AMC back up on their feet by like showing these really popular movies and bring them out of the vault, like Jurassic Park, Dark Knight,
Can they put Spider-Verse back in theaters in 3D?
Spider-Verse. That'd be
So I can see that
amazing.
again. I would go. I would risk myself going to the
Hey,
theater
we'll tweet at them
AMC.
later.
if I could see fucking Spider-Verse 3D again.
AMC is actually releasing Spider-Verse as part of their opening.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me see if they have a
I
list.
saw that in my app last week, but in New Jersey, theaters still aren't open.
That's a fucking dangler of an apple there.
Reopening. Let's see if there's a list of any of the reopening movies that they have.
Let's see. In the coming soon tab, so this is the coming soon of AMC here. So opening August 9th, Babe, 25th anniversary. Kiki's Delivery Service, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Princess
Cool.
Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle,
Oh,
Fiddler on the Roof, Mulan, Wonder Woman 1984, Tenet, Black Widow. So okay, so then they get into like movies
then they
that
get
are
into like new movies.
yeah. Iron Man
Yeah,
is releasing July 17th. Human Capital, July 17th. Bohemian Rhapsody, July 17th. Beauty and the Beast, July 17th. Ghost, July 19th. So yeah, skip what was it, Endless, and just go see Ghost in theaters again.
Yeah.
Tijuana Jackson, July 24th. There we go. Spider-Verse, July 20th. Sonic
Okay,
the
cool.
Hedgehog, July 30th. Or I'm sorry, July 30th. July 30th. Raiders of the Lost Ark, original Wonder Woman. So yep. Spider-Verse coming back into theaters.
Yeah, honestly, I would go see a lot of those movies, like Dark Knight. I'd go see.
The first time I saw they had less movies last time I looked, and I saw Spider-Verse. I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I just put in my Blu-ray and watched it.
Yeah, but who knows? I don't want to see AMC go away. I like having those big opening nights of certain movies, because I mean, I saw something the other day where it was like, I was a TikTok. It was like trying to get back that feeling, or remembering that feeling you got when you saw Captain America summon Mjolnir to his hand, and then listening to like everybody's reaction to the audience as everybody goes, "Oh, what the fuck?" Because it was such a huge like moment. It's like those are the moments that are just like chef's kiss.
Yeah, but
So
when you watch a movie at home, you have advantages. Like no one claps after the fucking movie ends.
I get it. Yes, there are pros and cons. Yes, I get it. You just have
This is
to have
not a
little
stage performance. They can't fucking hear you.
RDJ is not going to take a bow at
The
the
credits
end.
are rolling. The curtain did not drop.
Don't everybody go nuts when you see the Star Wars logo pop up there. I think we all knew what we were getting into.
It was on the ticket.
I wouldn't have put it past for Endgame. I wouldn't have put it past them to have all the actors come out and just like fucking bow on the screen.
Honestly,
Like it was an actual fucking curtain call. They signed the movie.
Yeah,
Oh, they
that's
did.
true.
Yeah, they signed the movie. Why not have them bow?
Yeah, I mean, if they did that, still, it's a screen captured rendering of them. They cannot hear you. But it'd be a little less annoying. So let's talk about some gaming news here. We had some gaming news and perhaps some reviews as well. Sony is investing $250 million into Epic Games as part of a continuation of the strategic partnership. So you get ready to see a lot of PlayStation 5 exclusive Fortnite content.
Yikes.
I'm
Yep,
sure.
Here comes Ninja out in a fucking PlayStation 5 shirt
Like
at
when
E3 next year.
fucking Sony sort of kind of bought Capcom a few years ago. There went Street Fighter on the Xbox like that.
Yeah.
Amazon, perhaps still reeling from the bitch smacking that Crucible received upon release, has delayed its MMO once again. New World will now be expected to release in spring of 2021. So it had been set to come out on August 25th. But the studio announced today that based on feedback received from alpha testers, it has decided to push the release to the spring of 2021.
They hated it. Was
Wait a
that
minute.
supposed to be like was that supposed to be like that one space like exploration game?
No, it's a
Well.
medieval fantasy MMO.
Oh,
Or I guess maybe not medieval, maybe more like
I see a man in
Conquistador.
Conquistador armor
Yeah.
with the katana.
gotcha.
Yeah. But I think the bigger story here is that like this game was still in alpha and supposed to release next month. Oh wait, hold on. As a result, we will be changing our launch date and correspondingly our final beta test. Oh, the game is still in alpha. It was still in alpha and it was supposed to release in like 50 days.
Yeah.
Jeff, that's not how a video game happens. I know you like Amazon Prime, but you can't get a video in 2 days or less.
You think they were gonna
Yogi.
like push it to beta on August 25th and like do like a public beta testing like PUBG?
open
did?
beta MMO? That sounds awful.
I would have hoped that they would have
wouldn't push it
done,
past
a beta at some point. Well, open betas aren't bad. The only issue with open betas is that people don't understand what an open beta means. Like, yes, things are going to be bad. The game isn't finished.
So I forgot what game was like still technically in beta. No.
Isn't DayZ in like beta still, or did they like it was in beta for like 11 years or some shit like that?
PUBG might still be in beta. I think that was the game that I remember personally. Like that was like in beta for a dumb amount of time, and people were just like, paid $30 for a game that doesn't work.
Well, they were selling
Rad.
Minecraft when it was still in alpha.
Yeah.
I bought Minecraft when it was still in alpha. It was like Alpha 2, I think, is when I bought into Minecraft. And then some years later, it's the biggest game ever made.
So I'm hoping that's what they meant by August 25th. Move it to beta, maybe, or open beta.
You would hope so, that there'd be a beta between release and alpha. That's typically how that goes.
Usually. But then again, it's Amazon. They released Crucible when it probably should have been in.
It was a little half-baked, yeah.
Just never made. Just don't even make it.
If you are a fan of Telltale Games, do I have news for you. The Humble Bundle Summer Adventure Games Bundle features all the Telltale games you could ever want. For only $1 or more, you get The Walking Dead Season 1, The Walking Dead 400 Days, Oxenfree, and Batman The Enemy Within. The second tier, which currently costs like $7.50 or more, will get you all the previous games as well as The Wolf Among Us, Batman The Enemy Within Shadows Mode, The Walking Dead, McConey, and The Walking Dead Season 2. Lastly, there's a $15 tier where you can get Batman Season 1, Batman Season 1 Shadows Mode, The Walking Dead A New Frontier, or The Walking Dead The Final Season. So pretty much every Telltale game except Tales from the Borderlands can be yours for $15.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That is it.
Everything must go, and we have infinite copies, so it's going to take a while.
It's yeah. It's currently the value of that bundle is $174. So if you like Telltale games or you're interested in trying Telltale games, and you don't mind $15 invested, when we talk about value for your money in terms of games, like each of these games only has to be like an hour long in order for you to get your money's worth. So
yeah, I remember watching the Walking Dead game, and it was okay. I think the biggest like gripe people had with it was like you didn't have too much of an like choice was an illusion. You still had the same end result. Like,
well, that's Telltale games in general.
Yeah. So that was like the biggest gripe with The Walking Dead. If it's the other ones, that sucks.
I played The Walking Dead, the first one. Like I thought I was just downloading a demo for it, but I think it was like the full game on my Xbox 360, and it was all right. I don't particularly care for their style of game because it's more like a visual novel than it is a game. Which I like story in games as much as the next guy, probably more than your average bear. But at the end of the day, I do like some actual gameplay in my game, not just QTEs.
Yep.
Like the biggest thing I can compare this to, and where Telltale Games kind of like took their model from, is there was a place. It's on PC now. There was a PlayStation 3 exclusive game called Heavy Rain, where it was basically all one flowing cutscene with some QTEs that did affect the way the cutscene played out. So there was like gameplay and replay value to it. But that game got very mixed reviews. I think it was just ahead of its time though, because all the Telltale games get glowing reviews, even though they're barely games. But for the people who review games in the journalism media, maybe that's a good thing because they couldn't get past the Cuphead tutorial.
This game was so nice. I barely had to do anything. Game. It's just the story at that point.
10 out of 10, game of the year.
That's why people are playing it. They're not playing it for the... I guess that's why some people are playing it. If you like the story and you want a nice... If you are into that story, then play it for the story.
I'm not saying
just
that...
don't expect anything out of gameplay, I guess, is our point.
Like, it's more akin to reading a choose-your-own-adventure novel than it is to playing a video game.
Yeah. I would agree.
I was distracted for a second. I thought you were talking about Spec Ops: The Line.
No, I've not yet gotten to that. Coincidentally, there is some choice in that game. There are multiple endings. They don't change much, but there are multiple endings and decision points, which is interesting in a game of that nature. But I'll discuss that after we talk about how it's coming, people. After
Why?
stable pricing for 15 years, we can expect that next generation games are going to cost $70. This is an interesting story that comes up here because I was just thinking the other day about, remember when games were $49.99? That was a nice price. Got a $100 bill, it could get 2 new games.
Half 100. 70 is awkward.
I remember in the old days when like the Nintendo, like the SNES was out and the game was $65.
If it was a special cartridge, yeah. Like I think the Donkey Kong Country cartridge cost like $84 or something like that because it had all these special processing chips on it.
Huh.
Okay. And then we standardized the format and we saved money. And now we're creeping back up again.
Yeah. We talk a lot about value in our game reviews and like how much content there needs to be in a game per dollar spent to get good value for it. And raising the game $10, the price of the game $10, shifts that equation. Now you're looking at you need 70 hours of content from a game to reach that vaunted threshold of 1 hour per dollar spent, which represents ideal value. That's hard to do in a lot of different games. Yeah. And quite frankly, even games that are longer in stories, I look at my playtime on Steam, it's a little under like $70.
Yeah, but like now how do you factor in like multiplayer? Like, I think of like Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, like those multiplayer is a great way to add value to the game, in my opinion. I have 63 hours on Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. The story mode we beat in basically 1 2-hour stream.
Yeah.
So it's not like I keep playing the story over and over again. I'm playing matches against people. And like I spent $19 on this game and another $30 on the DLC. I've gotten my money's worth multiple times over now.
Yeah. Technically, League of Legends is infinite value.
Yes.
That's free.
Free-to-play games are infinitely valuable by my metric, which is true because any amount of enjoyment you get out of a free-to-play game is just gravy. Like DC Universe Online, even if you don't want to play the MMO, like the level 1 to 30 story on that is a solidly entertaining DC set adventure that takes about 10, 15 hours that you can enjoy for no money.
Yeah.
Just the time it takes to install it because you have to install all the content that you don't have access to as a free-to-play player.
Maple Story. It's childish.
Maple Story.
It's addictive like meth, amphetamine, but it's free. There's many different classes to play from. But yeah, $70. I don't know. I'm more mad that it's an odd number.
Yeah, like
it's an awkward number. I don't know.
The price of the game is going up, and shit that should be included in that price of the game is getting, gutted out and sold piecemeal to you.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a tough pill to swallow. Like I understand that it's been $15 for like 15 years, and inflation is a thing.
Now,
but
I wouldn't mind this. I wouldn't mind this as much if we knew what's to come after these new generation games, and if more companies started, releasing DLC that was free. Like they have a game that's out, and then a year later, DLC for free. Maybe there was a deluxe edition that you can buy, but they add on to the story, add on to the game, add different game modes or something like that to keep you entertained. Because I think one of the constants that I've seen out of like good video games, like I keep on bringing up Fortnite because it's this immune to overplayability. is that it keeps on updating itself. It's fresh all the time. And like games like Modern Warfare don't do that enough.
Yeah,
And it
well,
was-
All right, here's my thing. It's that for me, like this wouldn't be so bad if there wasn't also. Well, I guess it's not as bad because of this, but it's kind of an indictment on big console AAA development that you can just use, if you don't want a strictly AAA experience, you can step off, and then the price goes down to fucking $20
yeah.
for any number of indie games and Steam
Or
stuff.
just you can just like
itch.io.
wait a year and play the game for half price usually.
Right. So it's, in one sense, like it's the most expensive product, and it's also catering to the most, like the widest accessible base.
Yeah.
You know, that's just trying to get people who just want to play a video game. You know, and don't.
The offer of this
Don't have-
article on Polygon here, it's an analysis article. The $70 video game is inevitable, and they already mentioned that NBA 2K21 is raising its price from $59.99 to $69.99 for the next generation consoles. And it also mentions that we've had that $69.99 price since the Xbox 360 rather launched in 2005, which I don't think is. I disagree with their timeline a little bit, but their point was that like it's not so bad because if you adjust it for inflation, $59.99 in 2005 is like $81 in 2020 money. And it's like, well, yes, that's true,
Now-
but
Here's my thing. Oh, I already had a thing, but here's my other thing. I think there's a new metric we can use that'll counteract these inflation claims. This all is changing money stuff. All right, so Netflix, basic mode, right? $8 a month, 12 months.
something
Ish.
like that.
All right, so we'll round up to a year. If you had to replace Netflix for a year with this video game, would you be satisfied?
Yeah. That's a good question. It'd have to be a
Maybe
good
that
game.
speaks to the insane value
I'm
of
trying to
streaming
think about it.
services,
Yeah.
or
It's hard to compare the two because they offer different experiences, I guess.
well, then I guess if you had to choose,
I'd
one,
pick
which would you-
Netflix.
like that's what it boils down to. If you have only, that's why we talk
I
about
would-
values, because you only have so much money to
I would
spend.
pick Netflix, and here's why. There's fresh stuff that keeps me coming back. Not only is there this vast library of things that if I'm in the mood for this, I can get this. If I'm in the mood for comedy, I watch comedy. If I just want to watch something that I've already seen, like The Office, I'll put on an episode of The Office or something like that. So I always have that option. But then how many times do we have like a new release? Like Tiger King came out and everybody ate that shit up. The Epstein documentary came out. Everybody ate that shit up. So it's like you're almost following trends too and keeping up to date on the latest trends. So it's like I think that offer of something new and fresh almost every month is what gives it another level of value, I guess, in my opinion.
And I think that's why they're pushing games as a service now.
Yeah, that's well, they're just
You have
trying
the
to
roadmap of content to
monetize it
to
more.
mimic the release schedule. Yeah.
But the problem with games as a service is that it's offering you a lesser value over time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's maybe an unfair comparison to compare a video game to a streaming service because they are different pieces of content. Like one you will own eternally. Well, the gains for the services model might disagree with you, but one theoretically you'll have forever and can keep going on, and you've paid the one-time lump sum, and the other, you know, is a monthly recurring fee. Perhaps a better analogy is like a DVD or Blu-ray box set of a television show, because it's the one thing. But even then, like, I've gotten, like, just inherently with my, let's say I did spend $95 on my Batman Beyond Collector's Edition Blu-ray box set. There's, I think, 40-something episodes of Batman Beyond, half an hour each. That's 20 hours right there of stuff, plus the special features and the ability to watch it again. So, that's a comparable value estimate if we use the same 1 hour per dollar spent to a video game. So would I rather pay $70 for a video game or for the TV box set? Probably the video game.
Okay.
But
yeah, I mean, it's worth it to look at, like, these are the metrics that we need to use now, in addition to the old $1 an hour.
Yeah, and it is also just a matter of, like, it's creeping up there. Like, how long until we see video games cost $100, and then there's development costs haven't scaled well with the cost of like the ability to make money with video games. That's why you don't see a lot of developers A, taking risks, or B, like smaller developers getting in the games, because it's just so much money to develop a AAA game. And
my one question is, because I think we talked about this before with the price of, like, consoles, and we still haven't seen PS5 price, I believe, nor the Xbox price.
yeah, they're still playing chicken there.
Do you think that they're in the attempt to keep those low, so we get that buy-in price point as low as possible? Do you think we're seeing game prices going up because they're keeping console prices low? I mean, if they keep a console price, $100 less than what they would need to sell it to make a profit on it, and then that $100 is then distributed amongst, like, PS5 exclusives by adding $10 more per game, for like 10 games or whatever, and then that's where we're seeing, like, the price differential.
Well, that's always their model, right? They make their money on the software, and it's kind of like the inverse of what we were talking about, value for us, value for them, because the console's the lost leader. Like, that's a one-time payment that they get from you. Where they make their money is selling you online, selling you permission to use your own internet, and selling you the games.
God, when you put it that way, I feel so dumb for spending so long paying for, like, Xbox 360 like membership. The
PS
gold
Network
membership
was free in at the
Yes,
beginning.
on the
got
PlayStation
hacked.
3 it was free. It was free, and then
That was
they rolled out PS Plus, and then no one bought it because why? And then PS4 was like, okay, now you need PlayStation
now you
Plus.
need to. Yeah. Man, I mean, it just goes to show you how much, like, that's probably why, like, PlayStation got so much business in the beginning, because people were like, well, I don't need to spend $30 a month to do online.
I mean, yeah, once the prices became comparable, that became a very real deciding factor for people.
Yeah.
It's like, do I want to spend $60 a year online?
I
The
was just
cost
a dumb
of a
little
new
kid wanting to
game.
play Halo. Yeah.
And hasn't that been always, like, PlayStation and Sony's sort of, one of its propositions was that is a value proposition, because that's why people bought the PS2, is because it also just doubled as a DVD player, and you just got that function
And the
in
Blu-ray
there.
player on that as well. They got away from the roots a little bit, because the PS4 and PS4 Pro both were not Ultra HD Blu-ray players, but the Xbox One was. See, they kind of shifted. The Xbox One really bet on being that, like, one living room box you use for everything, because you could feed in, like, your cable box through it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They took some risks with it, and it's a nice piece of hardware, but the software support wasn't there, and that's.
I wonder
why
how
it
many
kinda
people
flopped.
actually took advantage of, like, switching between cable and stuff like that. I haven't had an Xbox in ages. I haven't had a cable box in ages either. So I mean, we just didn't need it, but
I mean, I've done it too, like
Yeah.
to consolidate on like hooking things up to the TV. I've run like another console or whatever media through the Xbox on the HDMI in. Hell, we use it on our streaming sometimes because my capture card is finicky.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it just goes to show you there's a lot of stuff. So
Yeah. And
maybe we'll have to take a deeper dive on this on maybe another episode.
This sounds value in video games. There's your fucking editorial topic once upon a time.
yeah.
It's a really interesting topic to dive into and to pick apart because there's a lot out there. It's a lot of different. I mean, look at Switch's model and how they're doing their stuff. It's totally different than what Sony and Xbox are doing.
Yeah. It's an industry where a lot of people are trying to figure out how to make the most money out of it. And unfortunately for the consumer, a lot of those ideas are not very good for them.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for like the Netflix of video games.
Well, that's what Microsoft's really trying with Game Pass right now.
You know, I think it's a smart move because hell, it's just I feel like it's inevitable. Just like they said, like $70 price point's inevitable. Once we get to a certain price point, like the $80 or $90, maybe $80. I don't think 90 is going to be coming up anytime soon. It's just like nobody's going to want to buy a video game.
Well, we already have $90 like deluxe editions and collector's
Yeah.
editions.
I mean, it's wild how much we can get, and if we can get like we get a Netflix thing where it's like $10 a month, and you can play all these new video games, and hey, maybe there's a $15 a month pass where you can get access to different DLCs or collector's editions.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting idea to dive into.
Yeah. All right.
But
Let me talk a little bit about a little game called Spec Ops: The Line. This is a game that is actually pretty well known in the gaming community for being a rather ambitious story for the type of game that it is. So this is developed by Jaeger Games or Jaeger Games, YAGER, and released in 2012. So it came bundled in with The Darkness 2 in my humble bundle, and it was published by 2K2, and it's a very similar game in a lot of ways in terms of like its value proposition. Although I will say that I enjoyed Spec Ops: The Line more than I did The Darkness 2, and I'm more likely to recommend it to someone because of the way that its story progressed. And yeah, I guess you can call it a twist. I don't know that. I mean, yeah, it is a twist, but it's not like the mind-blowing twist that everyone told me it would be. But it is sort of like a whoa kind of moment. So you play as Michael Walker, Captain Michael Walker, who is a Delta Ops operative. And he and his squad mates Adams and Lugo are sent to Dubai, which has been ravaged by a series of sandstorms, the likes of which the city has never seen. They are sent into Dubai after the 33rd Regiment that was tasked to protect Dubai during these storms stopped responding to calls. So it was a recon mission. But some decisions are made by Captain Walker that involve him and his squad mates further and further into a web of intrigue and lies. And skip ahead a few minutes if you want to avoid spoilers. The big twist here is that the character of Conrad, who supposedly is commanding the 33rd and forcing the squad into all these difficult decisions that really kind of expose the horrors of war. For example, at one point you launch white phosphorus and you hit civilians on your target. He's dead. There is no Conrad. And And the entire time, all these decision points you've made, or not all of them, but a lot of the decision points you've made have just been hallucinations that Walker has been having. Why he's having these hallucinations, they never really touch on. But the big gotcha moment of the story is it holds a mirror up to you and your actions and shows you were the villain the whole time, basically. Which...
Okay.
It was cool. I think they could have executed it a little bit better, given more justifications for the hallucinations and more. It wanted to be like a Sixth Sense style twist, and I'll tell you, I didn't see it coming particularly because there was really. But the problem is, I didn't see it coming not because the clues were well hidden, but because there were no clues. So, like, in The Sixth Sense, like, the clues are there. Like, if you listen to the director's commentary, M. Night Shyamalan talks about how, I was really nervous people were going to figure it out because of this clue and this clue and this clue. And you're like, oh, yeah, I feel like an idiot for not seeing that. But that wasn't the case here. But it's still a unique story experience. I mentioned this was developed by Yager, but... You could have fooled me. This feels a lot like a Naughty Dog game. It's a third-person shooter with similar gunplay, better gunplay, and cooler tactic units. So, like, there's replay value not only because there's multiple endings, but because I think there's enough challenge in the gameplay to interest you. Because there are cool things, like you're in Dubai, right? So there's a lot of sand. And if you throw a grenade and it explodes, not only does the fragments do shrapnel or it stuns, but it'll also kick up sand if you're outside, so you can use that to move to the next parts of cover. So I think there's some interesting tactical elements to it to play around with on higher difficulties, which will also lead to replay value. The gameplay is pretty tight. I like the cover system. Squad mate commands are janky. You can order them to attack at any point in time and any target on the field, which is nice. However, you can only, at certain moments that the game deigns for you, order them to do things like throw a stun grenade or a frag grenade or something like that, which is kind of annoying because there are times where you're moving through with your tactical plan and you're like, okay, I'd really like them to throw a stun grenade here, but since the game didn't decide that was a good idea, you can't do it. So that was a little frustrating with the gameplay. Again, this is not a game I can really recommend spending much more than $10 or $15 on, but it does get the bonus for being a very unique experience in terms of the story and gameplay. So I would say you can spend as much as $15 on it, maybe even $20. I can say maybe even buy this at $20, but unfortunately, much like The Darkness 2, it is still in July of 2020, 8 years after its release, selling new on Steam for $29.99. So look for a Humble Bundle to come up. Look on some other places to buy games, maybe Good Old Games, or wait for a sale. But don't buy it at $29.99. I would say I could stomach that a little bit more than I could with The Darkness 2, but I'd say wait. $19.99 would be a little high. I'd say $15 and below, though, is a good place to buy in on this. And I would recommend this game. I give it a thumbs up.
Nice.
Cool.
But
and now it's time to take a hard right turn.
Time to pull a Caesar and go from my thumbs up to my thumbs down, or pull Batista, as he would do in WWE before delivering his finishing move, the Batista Bomb. Go from the thumbs up to the thumbs down. Because My Spy, not a good movie.
No, siree.
I mean, like I liked your analogy to it being like the pacifier, and I was kind of being like, yeah, okay, all right. That's like the pacifier. I got some strong pacifier vibes. I
like when they stole the twist from the pacifier.
I just got so mad that like this guy is so incompetent, and like common sense. When is common sense gonna kick in and like say, hey, How about don't do that? How about grab her phone from her and break it?
Like this
I don't know.
9-year-old girl is holding these two supposedly trained operatives just hostage and outsmarting them at every turn. Yet in the climax, when she needs to be capable, she is not.
Yeah.
It-
So
It's just such a disjointed movie in so many ways. It forgets about its plot for a solid 90% of its runtime.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they have to
There
keep on
is,
reminding you. They have to flash back and be like, remember there's this terrorist plot? It's like,
They
oh,
pay it
yeah.
lip service, but it's like, okay, there's 30 minutes left in the movie. Let's just quickly hurry along all this plot information that we should have spread out throughout the movie.
Exactly. These kind of movies, I think, there's a precedent, there's a style, there's tropes. This is a movie that should be written more or less by the book. I compared this while I was ranting about it to an empty apartment last night. This is like Daddy Daycare, like Cheaper by the Dozen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the get a new wacky family movie, and becoming a new father, and there's a lot of stuff for that. Now, the guy who directed this, Peter Siegel, not to be confused with Peter Sagal, the host of Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR, nor Steven Seagal, you know, host
many
of
great movies.
Host of what is it, Louisiana
Oh yeah,
Law,
Lawman.
Bayou Law,
With Steve Seagal, Lawman.
But he directed things like Get Smart,
The 2013 Get Smart.
and yes.
Right.
There's some others. He did a lot of
that
modern
makes
comedy
that makes
movies.
sense. I can see that with how this movie was structured.
Let's
It's
see.
similar.
50 First Dates, Anger Management, Tommy Boy, Longest Yard. So he has a reputation for comedy stuff, but this movie I think needed to be tuned, because a lot of my rambling was just like words, just changing scenes around a little bit to make everything work, because things just weren't 100% there. And you could have, if they cared to do this and not just pooped it onto streaming services, they would have tightened it up and made it a generically fun family adventure featuring some action scenes. Okay.
Yeah, there was very little in the way of action, which I guess it's not specifically an action movie, but it was utilized at the beginning and at the end and nowhere else in the middle. And I think that has to do with the vacation it took from its own plot, which I will keep bringing up because it's so fucking jarring how the movie is just not about the thing it's about for so much of its runtime. And it's just like, let's put, it's like, you know, how in the trailer they had the montage of scenes. And you expect that to be kind of like montaged in the movie itself. But no, we're going to create a scene around each scenario that you saw in the trailer, which, like, I guess it deserves some credit for that, because too often it's the other way around, which isn't good. But this wasn't good either. There needs to be a middle ground that we explore, because the two extremes suck.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
It dove way too deep into like him helping her out and just like literally just being a babysitter movie.
And he was reluctant for like a scene. And then they're just best friends. And she's like, fuck my mom, because this movie also wants to be Parent Trap.
Dude, I couldn't stop comparing it to shit. What is the movie with I'm blanking on all the fucking names. I'm gonna find it.
Hotel
It's
Artemis.
an older movie. No.
I will say, I'll say in their favor that I place the blame for this movie squarely on the writer's shoulders. The let's see, the Ufer brothers, the Ohofer. Let's see, My Spy writers. The Hober brothers, Eric and John. Because I think Chloe Coleman, who played Sophie the girl, she did a fine job with what she was given. She did all right.
I mean, she was the most written character in the movie, so I should hope so.
Yeah. Dave Bautista, he does fine.
He's not asked to do much.
They make it. Yeah, it's safe, and I feel like he has his natural charisma will carry him through where things might be, have holes in there. You can patch him up. Yeah, I think people did well, but the script they were given was trash.
It made no
I kept on
sense.
comparing this. I kept on comparing this to Leon the Professional.
I am not familiar with
that
movie.
It's honestly a very good movie. It's got a young, like 10 years old Natalie Portman, who, yeah, exactly, right on.
Just the age you like them, Jake.
That's sweet spot. But she's the story follows her losing her parents, or I think they lost her parents, and she gets like sort of adopted by this like foreign assassin guy, and he trains her to become this assassin. Like he like straight up takes her on a rooftop, gives her a paintball gun, and shoots her how to snipe people.
Oh, so
rooftops.
Birds of Prey just lifted that story for Huntress.
Yeah, exactly. They just lifted it from Leon the Professional. And it's a really, there's a lot of really good scenes in it where they show their connection, and it's kind of emotional to the point, but it's not a comedy. And like I couldn't tell if this wanted to be like a straight up CIA like spy movie or like this weird fuck my mom comedy.
I mean, it had to be the comedy.
Fuck my momity.
Fuck my momity.
Fuck my momity. Like it was definitely more comedy, but like the scenes that had the spy parts in it was like really we want to be a spy movie, but also fuck my mom.
It was, and it's like just such a weird, like no 11-year-old girl.
Yeah, who is this for?
Yes,
Who is this for?
Yeah.
Where's the audience?
I don't know.
And what
I don't
11-year-old
know.
girl is so desperate to get her mom laid? Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't even know what sex is.
Yeah, I don't understand that part. Like my mind isn't on getting, maybe it's like this that she's seeking like a father figure in him.
But
Like
is
just
it-
doesn't want him to
I mean,
like,
yeah,
go away.
so
but it's
they-
like so much connect, like hit up my mom, just let me teach you how to woo my mom.
And she wants him to put his father figure
It
in her
is.
mom.
It is, to its slight credit, a reversal of the typical trope where the child rejects the new parent figure, but that makes sense. This doesn't.
Yeah, I think they're trying too hard. I think they are, as Wayne would put it, they're overhandling it. They're putting a little too much on it. I think this is where I want to start talking about how I would write this movie, the things I would change, the things I would make better, and I guess we have to get into spoilers for that.
Yeah.
Do we want to do that
sure.
now, or do we want to keep? All right. General review. There's better movies. Just watch The Pacifier. Just go back and watch any of the mid 2000s dad family over the top comedies. One more thing I will say about this: these kind of movies, if it's gonna be this, you need to have slapstick, and like they didn't have it because everything's digital now. There's one sort of slapstick gag where a fucking hawk eats a
pigeon,
like a bird. It just swoops by, and that was cute. That was a funny joke. And then they cut to it, and they cut to a different scene, and they totally flubbed the fucking editing. I can yell about that, but let's talk about. All right. I won't recommend this movie.
No, and also
Don't watch it.
You brought up editing, also special effects. What the fuck?
Oh, they were. I'm saving that for the climax. I've got some things to say about these special effects.
We saw better special effects in the Velocipaster,
That ass.
which had none.
Even the one that's missing.
Wait, we watched that. Like we watched that the whole way through, right?
we watched Velocipaster. But
Holy
like
shit.
that movie
That
was
was a fever
trying to be a bad movie. Like
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But this was
it's
like
fake.
it's the best you could do. I wonder if this was like post produced in COVID.
I gotta
COVID time.
I gotta figure that like with Artemis Fowl and with I'm learning about Hollywood, I think, Because with Artemis Fowl and with My Spy, like those effects did not look finished. So I'm thinking that maybe typically effects are finished a lot closer to the release than we typically assume.
Oh,
I think
yes.
so. Okay, so spoilers. Want to go into
let's
dip
talk.
into some of it. So the movie starts off with this Dave Bautista is trying his damnedest to do a Russian accent.
It's my
And
new
he
favorite
makes a joke
thing.
about it, and that's
Yes, I
great.
like that they acknowledged that it was bad.
which is
I
the
think it
right
was-
thing to do.
he did it.
I like that.
I think the writers just were banking on it. They're like, he can do a Russian accent. Dave's like, I can't. Let's put a joke in here, guys. Like, the writer looks up from his bong. He's like, all right, dude, we'll put a scene
Good
in
idea.
that. And he just goes back to taking fat rips.
But like, you're surrounded by a bunch of people with guns who hate you. So like, you think that's okay for your character? Sure, I'll just kill them all. Okay, why not?
Yeah, we'll write that in there
Just
too.
Yeah, write that in there. Oh, there's a big explosive thing behind you. You shoot it, and everybody's go, whoa, fire!
And then you
can't shoot
make,
the
you
big
make
guy.
a hard right turn at 40 miles an hour to avoid 2 rockets.
Yeah. And you knew they were going to be
Which-
there right at that time.
But they don't make it like a funny scene, right? Whereas in another scene, they would be a spy. They would do their spy thing. They would, the scene feels like, a spy comedy movie thing, but it's not
But
lighthearted
it's
enough.
to establish Dave Bautista as a capable spy moments before they spend the whole movie showing you he is not a capable spy.
Well, they didn't even show that he's a capable spy because he didn't.
Or
like,
action
he blew
hero
his
or
cover.
whatever.
He fucks
He
the mission
he
up.
fucked up the
Yeah.
Burn
mission.
notice and spoiled
Yeah,
me.
he fucked. He's not even a cap. He's just a brute that can shoot well, and he has good like tactical awareness. Like that. That's what established it for me. And the problem is that you can't. It's really hard to fit comedy in there because like where does a lot of comedy come from? Oh, you messing it up.
And then
Comedy comes from like, oh, my gun jammed, or I'm messing up the mission by not killing people.
Or if he was like an over-the-top action hero, like a very cliche
like a
action
Marvel
hero.
superhero.
Yeah,
Just
dude,
play
if he
Drax.
came down from the rafter, he did the fucking superhero landing, and then he just punches people. He's like,
What if it?
"Das
If we took
Vidania,
out like
bitch."
2 knives
Bam.
and had like a Drax reference, that'd be funny as shit.
Yeah.
Like he does part of it. He does like a fucking grenade
Yeah.
toss. They just again tune it up, turn it up a little bit, make it just that
Make
much
them
more
grenade
zany.
knives.
Like the other guys. The other guys did this
Yes,
fucking
did.
well.
Yeah.
Or it just turned up the characters to crazy on the 11 meter.
On the 11.
Aim for the bushes. Aim for the bushes. If they did something with Dave Bautista like that, I'd like that.
Yeah.
See, there you go. Here's my first rewrite. He does something, he does a stupid action thing, and he breaks his
Yeah.
arm or something, and he can't do the rest of the mission, so he's put on duty.
We fixed it. We fixed the fucking movie. He jumps into
This-
the ocean,
so what,
breaks his
what
arm.
happened here, where we stopped talking about the movie to talk about the rewrite, this was me for 4 hours last night. I would stop, I would say, this is how you do this scene. Stop being a shitty writer. And then I press play. I'm like, it's not going to happen again. It can't happen again. And I pause it 2 minutes later and I go, God
Why
damn
does she
it.
want him to fuck her mom?
Why is this the biggest plot point? Did you forget about the terrorist that you're related to?
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about
All
this.
right, yeah.
Let's talk about my rewrites for this. Let's go. So here's my rewrite. He's come to America, or there's another family who's like the daughter of the bad guy goes to the same school as Sophie, right? And she's one of the mean girls. And Dave teaches Sophie how to like get back at her through spy means, and she does spy stuff and fucks with the evil little girl. But then through the course of the movie, she finds out that they're not so bad. It's just the dad who's evil, and just she was a bad parent. And so you establish the theme of parenting makes good children, right? And then they become friends, and so they walk off and they get ice cream as Dave Bautista fights the fucking bad guy. They're like, screw this. Let's go take selfies in the hallway as like they're fucking like choking each other out in the back of like some warehouse.
They should have utilized the school more, because I think the school would have been a much
Yeah.
better backdrop for the action scene than this airfield.
You know what you just described, I think, Pete, is you got dangerously close to Special Agent Cody Banks. That's almost it's really close to the plot of that, because he was like, he had to get close to the daughter of the guy, and then he found out like the dad was doing shit for the villains, but he wasn't that bad. He wasn't a bad guy. He just was like caught up in the wrong people. But I like that idea. That's a better idea.
Well, that was they ripped that note. They ripped that your dad wasn't a bad guy. He was just in with the wrong people for her dad, for Sophie's dad, who she was just so willing to replace.
Even though Bobby, his JJ's partner, was like, yes, he was a bad guy. So I don't know. Maybe she was not the best guy. I don't know.
No, I don't like. I didn't like Sophie either in the beginning. They did the redemption arc, but she should have been. She was precocious, but she wasn't like witty, which I would have liked to see her really match wits with the JJ character.
Well, the whole thing is JJ character doesn't have a lot of wits. That's the whole gag, is he's a bumbling oaf who got outed by a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. Then they should. I think they should make her just a little bit more like they're trying to do she's the mature for her age thing, I think, and I think they just need to make that. They
need to make this movie better.
Right now, she just sounds like
is what they needed to do.
She sounds like a jerk. Yeah. So again, this for 2 hours. The gay couple. As soon as I saw them, the one guy moved. He's in the background, and he's a bald white dude with stubble who doesn't talk. And I'm like, okay, they're fucking secret agents. I thought that they were the bad guys who were also trailing him. They were hired by Vladimir Petronov.
I don't even care about their names. I don't even care about like the villains' names.
And they were gay, and I absolutely knew that the full extent of the twist was they're secret agents, but they actually are gay for each other. Because
you
funny moment.
What made me know that they were going to be secret agents? Because they're the neighbors, and that's literally the same thing as what happened in The Pacifier. They're just gay and not Asian this time.
Mm-hmm. And they don't even hide it. They're like, we keep an eye on everything that goes around here. We love to interrogate new people in the neighborhood.
They weren't exactly
and they
subtle
run up to
about
him they jog up to him in the park, and like people talking in the park is number one fucking spy shit.
Oh yeah. You don't
go to a park and talk to people, especially if you're wearing
even
jogging
if you're
gear and
neighbors.
nondescript
You
clothing.
wave and say, "Hey, that's it. That's it." Nobody wants to talk while they're jogging. Not even Dave Bautista. Yeah, that they really ham-fisted that in there.
And then what's her name? Kristen Shaw or whatever. Like, her character was very all over the place, underwritten, really unimportant to the story. No, not the mom. The tech support.
Bobby, yeah.
Was she? Because like she goes from "I hate you, you're awful, you're doing a bad job, you're not helping me, like you're not a cool guy. I thought you were this person, you're not." And then she's like, and then they're watching him on a date, and she's like, "Oh, I'm invested in him as a character, in a person, or whatever." And then she goes back to like.
And when they get fired, she's like, "You're my hero, and I got to watch you become a person." It's like, bitch, weren't you just angry at him for not following the op 2 scenes ago?
Like that was never never really set up that Bobby drew this emotional connection to him.
Well, she gushed over him when she found out they were partnered.
Yeah, they gushed over. She was like starstruck almost, but she wasn't like emotionally invested because he was like broken inside. They never established that until they straight up told it to our face.
Well, it's so much easier to tell you something than to show it to you.
Yeah.
You know how they do this character in other movies? They have them all, like, whenever JJ would talk about anything, the Bobby character should have been like, "Oh, that's just like your operation, like Viet Everest or Russia Kong, your clandestine operation at the Johnson facility." And he's like, blah blah blah. And he's like, "You're so annoying." And like maybe she has like a picture of him above her bed, you know, just like my hero.
Just an easy, simple way would have been like he's taking a nap on the couch while she's watching like surveillance footage, and he starts having a nightmare and talking in his sleep, and she's concerned about him, and then she hacks into. You show us hacking into his files, and finding out that like, you know, there's like a dumb KIA stamp over each like of his like other fellow soldiers' pictures. Like that's a much better way to show us that she knows about his past and that she's concerned about him.
Yeah.
And then have that be the point where she starts helping him like get in with the mom and find his like emotional side to it. That's a much better incentive to helping him out, other than just like, oh, okay, there's a kid with us now.
My only problem with that is that it still ignores what ostensibly is the plot of the movie.
Yeah, I know, but it's like it's almost like the plot of the movie doesn't matter, or there's just like
it comes in too
the
late.
plot comes in too late, or the plot was supposed to be him finding his emotional side and reconciling with his past and finding this like family that he never had. But
His past
also
is just
there's a subplot of a terrorist plot.
His past, though,
Yeah.
is like never established as an important thing.
No.
It's just like 2 or 3 throwaway lines.
And that's the thing, is that
Yeah, it's not mysterious.
the movie was shot
it's
in a
not.
way that and all this in sequence in the manner of like, okay, his past or he is a broken man trying to reconcile with his past or trying to find people to care for, but we never set that up. But we're gonna shoot that like it is and ignore this subplot of a terrorist plan. If the terrorist stuff, like with the plans and the plutonium, was pushed more as a subplot in the background a little bit more, and then they elaborated on his past a little bit better.
It's hard
then I could
because
see
the
that being-
whole
you can-
reason
so-
for the movie happening is the terrorist plot.
Yes,
But it's
yeah,
ignored
Right.
for most of the movie.
so I guess how do you show a
I
plot
think-
by ignoring the plot? I don't know.
They can keep it in your brain. I know they can do it. I've seen movies that do it. You know how they do it? It's with careful scene choice and scene sequencing. Now, you know, standard filmmaking pedagogy would dictate that what would happen is Dave Bautista and so I guess JJ and Sophie, they have their family moment. It's a small triumph. He's feeling a little better about himself, and you're like, yeah, they did it, and your brain's like, cool, running high. That's when you make the transition and the hard cut to the looming threat that's still on the way.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you cut to the terrorist stuff. Is like after he learns how to, like, I don't know, skate or whatever, or after he's like dancing, and they're like, yeah, dancing, cool, and then it cuts to them and like, oh, you thought it was all happy, but remember, he's still there and he's gonna come get him. And if you wanted to tie this into the main plot a little earlier, remember when Bobby yells at him the first time, like that big fight that they have, like halfway through, when she's like, I'm disappointed in you, you're a jerk. That should have been, they get the call that like Vladimir Shnov, Stolichanya Vodka is coming to America, and she's like, shit, this just got real. This isn't like a thing anymore, and you've just been palling around with the girl and her mom. Like, you got to get serious. I'm serious here. And then that plays into the same sort of things that she was harping on him for in the actual movie, but in my hypothetical movie, it actually ties into like, these are real stakes here. Get your ass in the game. There's a reason why you're doing this, and the themes, you can put your themes in there, and it makes a full through line. It's you make a BLT with bacon, lettuce, and tomato. You're not throwing fucking potato wedges in there. You're not throwing a fucking slice of watermelon in there. You make it with bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes.
Doing too much business with the plot. So let's just fast forward to the climax. because it is just the pinnacle of awful in this movie. So the plot shows back up, and Vladimir Petrovich Gotcha Gonorrhea explodes himself, but no, it was a body double, and the CIA is like, okay, mission over. We're not going to investigate this any further because no one's ever pulled a stunt like this in a movie before.
Yeah.
Right. And he explains it with a body double and some old tunnels from World War II that were never decommissioned. And I'm like, cut out the last like 3 words of that sentence. Body double and some old tunnels. Just inefficient writing.
And then, so Sophie goes to get JJ for reasons that I can't be bothered to remember. She comes back down, and Vladimir Vodka Sauce has her mother held at gunpoint, and his friend Dimitri there is. They've got the dog and all that nonsense, and then they club JJ over the head. And now they got the whole family at gunpoint, and then the gay neighbors came over, reveal that they're also spies. They free
Independent contractors.
They
I don't know, hired by somebody. They weren't clear.
Somebody, not who cares. They then demand their things, so it's like a Mexican standoff. But Bobby drops a gun, which causes it to sustain fire.
I rolled my fucking eyes so hard they fell onto the couch, and I had to pick them up and dust them off. Gosh.
That was really bad. I'm like, that's not how any of this works.
Why do you have an Uzi? Why'd you drop it? What CIA agent doesn't know how to operate a gun?
I'm pretty sure they teach you that, like, as part of your onboarding, even if you're in cyber department.
Have to be. I feel like if you are going to go out into the field at any point, you have to have some sort of training, even if you're like just IT.
Can you fire a pistol at a range?
Like, even if it's like 26 out of 50 on the target, minimal passing.
That's fine. You need to be able to not die when someone's going to come at you at point blank range.
So yeah,
Can you
like
do that?
the MacGuffin
Cool.
box of weapons she uses, and it's all just played for comedy, but it's not like funny. It's just like, why is the scene in the middle of the climax?
We forgot about the Nabisco product placement, where they're eating Oreos, and in the first scene, she eats a fucking like the Dorito front and center, and she's like, "This is getting."
She's going to throw out a bag of Doritos.
Yeah,
he's eating a bag of Doritos.
There's
and
the Oreos and shit.
I was like, kill me with a bag of Doritos. God.
I want a Cool Ranch coffin.
So,
bury me in a Cool Ranch coffin.
They all start. Vladimir Petrovich gone to get you from Siberia. Gets in his car and drives off with Sophie, who got in the fray, and then they pile in her car and they use Waze and other shit to like.
Yes,
in a Fiat too, in like the smallest car they could have gotten.
Waze?
And I was like, all right, where's the small car bit that they're gonna do? Because and then I don't think they ever did anything.
They drove
like
on
that.
the sidewalk. That was their small car bit.
Yeah, but like
true.
Dave Bautista is big guy in a tiny little Fiat.
Oh, well, you mean like
Where's
in
the bit
Hobbs
about that?
and Shaw, when
Yeah,
all three of them
fine.
managed to fit in a car that was barely wide enough to fit one of them.
Hell yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
Even if it plays off of something that worked before, I would like to see something that works in this movie, and that would have been a good joke.
You want to fucking make it you even want to make it a product placement with Fiat? He's like, I can't get in this Fiat. And she's like, well, it's a compact. And he's like, I am not compact.
Yeah.
He's like,
We
I'm not
don't
a
have
compact
jokes
man.
in this movie, Peter. Get out of here.
Or start listing more Fiat product placement. Just start listing the brand
You
name.
should have
or
got the
model names
Abrath.
of
It
the
has
Fiats.
enough width for me to get in there.
I don't know Fiat makes enough to.
Neither do I. So they race
Where's
off
this brand?
to an
Hey,
airfield, and then the fuel tank leaks, and it's dangling by like a one post, and a picket fence is holding this entire small aircraft over the edge of a cliff. Because who builds a runway on a cliff?
Oh, I don't know. Anyone who wants a nice clear landing, like a takeoff area.
This was Calehan Airfield. I wanted to know if there was actually a cliff there. This is in Chicago,
I feel like there
Illinois.
is. a cliff is not the worst. Like a cliffside airfield
Except
is not the
if
worst
you have to
thing.
make an emergency
'Cause-
landing,
Right.
which happens.
Now having the strip right on the edge of the fucking having the strip right at the edge of the cliff face is a stupid idea, but it lets you just catch air and then you can go.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all happening, and then the only reason this is happening at an airfield so they can make another attempt at a joke by not even like making a joke, just referencing that Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark is a movie and has a scene in it. And Super Killer Man JJ is unable to dispatch Vladimir Don't Fuck His Mom in hand-to-hand
Vlad
combat
Stroganoff.
for an absurd amount of time. And then the mom comes in and hits him with a thing, and then they save Sophie, and then they float plastic explosives so they can have the explosion that they don't look at. And then they get rehired by the CIA, but sent back to Chicago for reasons that make no goddamn sense. And then the credits roll, and I say, wow, what a waste of fucking time. All the while, the explosions and backgrounds used are just like early 2000s green screen and like stock footage that I own. They stole from me to use these explosion effects.
Mm-hmm.
Just the worst CG you ever seen.
Yeah. If you're in film school and you know a little bit about filmmaking, if you like to watch movies and you're a fan of movies, I actually, in a bad way, I would recommend this just as a reference material, just so that you can realize how much good writing has been baked into otherwise like movies that you consume once and you throw away, and you realize that like there's that takes skill to make something that's just generally like easily consumable by a wide range of people. And it's just like I criticize this movie for not even coming up to the level of zero.
Yeah.
Can't even be nothing.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. Bad. My Spy bad.
My Spy bad.
Hashtag
My
not my spy.
with my little eye bad.
A bad movie. All right, so that's going to wrap up episode 219. Thank you so much for spending about 2 hours of your Saturday with us. Be sure to check out the stream. We will be checking out Borderlands 3's new DLC and Takedown and such. You can find us at twitch.tv/SaturnStuds. SaturnStuds.com also has links to that and our defunct mixer. I need to update the site. And all our other stuff that we do. Check out our social media at StudsSaturn on Twitter. And until next time, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.
Peace.
Bye-bye.